You are now locked into the Red and Blue Rivalry podcast, the podcast where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys.
My name is Hernandez, and I'm repping the faithful.
And I am Phillip Enriquez, repping it for America's team. And, man, our team's halfway through the 2020 season. It feels like expectations are about to take a pretty sick turn right now.
Yeah, it's not about a seeding, it's about draft position at this point. And
Yeah.
I think both of us are kind of looking at it like that. And it's just like a week ago we were talking about, can the Niners survive the gauntlet of death, and now it's like, is Jimmy Garoppolo the quarterback in 2021?
Yeah.
And I mean, he came out and he didn't look good and he's hurt. And
He's been very inconsistent, in 2020,
yes.
especially.
And I know he's hurt. And look, yes, do I think that has something to play with it, an issue for him? Yes. But at the same time, when you watch him play, something seems off.
Not the ankle.
Not the ankle. Because there's times where he's thinking, that has nothing to do about their receivers, running open. But he's just either not seeing them or coming off them too early. I mean, the perfect play, people harp on the interception. That proves he's not. I mean, no, the interception happened. That just happens to him. The play that I want to talk about, if you're a 49ers fan, is the screen pass. It was, I think, a play action with a backside screen. And he's rolling out one way, and Kittle breaks free right in front of him, a few yards in front of him. All he has to do is just toss it to Kittle. Kittle can get a first down like nothing. Instead, he throws the backside screen to Trent Taylor and gets like -4 yards. And I don't think that's the way to go. And I think that whatever has happened with him, I like Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo can go to New England and flourish with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels.
So you're saying, if I'm reading you correctly, it's not that you've given up too much on Jimmy Garoppolo as a talent, but just maybe not in this 49ers offense?
Yes. And I think that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think or any 49ers fan thinks. It matters what Kyle Shanahan thinks.
Right.
And I think that it's just too much now. You have to just be honest with yourself and say just something about him and Kyle Shanahan just doesn't work. Whether it's Kyle Shanahan doesn't believe in the abilities that he needs in him, or he's just drilled this into Jimmy Garoppolo's mind that if I take a chance and I make a mistake, whether it's an incomplete pass or an interception, Kyle Shanahan's going to run 27 consecutive running plays.
Right.
And I'm never going to throw the ball again. And they can say that's fine, but that there's something that eats at him, about that.
Because that does not do any wonders or any help for his confidence.
No, it doesn't. And it's always like whenever they run the ball, it's like, okay, whenever they go through these stretches of running the ball, it's after a Garoppolo mistake. It's never like, I can understand if they start, and then they're mixing it in, but it's like, he almost threw an interception. Run. And teams figure that out. Defenses are smart. They've adjusted. And I just look at it like, the GM John Lynch and Jed York have to sit down with Kyle Shanahan and say, look, you need to find a quarterback not named Kirk Cousins who can come and run this offense. You either need to look at the draft. They'll be in a position. I think they'll be in a position where if they finish 6-10 or 7-9, where they can trade, it'll cost, but they can trade to a position where they can get one of the top 4 quarterbacks if he believes in one. If it's a Zach Wilson out of BYU or a Kyler Trask out of Florida or a Trey Lance out of North Dakota State, find somebody. Whoever the guy is you want, find him, and build this offense, because at the end of the day, that loss should have told you they're in a soft rebuild. They're not in a hard rebuild. They're not stripping things down to the studs. The one benefit that this franchise has is that the core of their talent, their top talent, is still very young.
Yeah.
Kittle's barely in his second contract. Bosa will be back. Kinlaw's a rookie. Ayuk is still on his rookie deal. Deebo Samuel's on his rookie deal. They can build any offensive running game they want.
Yeah, the running backs have been pretty much interchangeable for the last 3 years.
Yeah, Fred Warner is still young. He's still on his rookie deal. Drake Greenlaw. These guys who are, you have. I think I would say there are 3 elite talents on this roster that are young and in their prime, and that's Bosa, Kittle, and Fred Warner.
Yeah,
they're the top tier. They're the top 3, or at their position. 3 to 5. You can say, okay, maybe Warner's at 5 or Bosa's at, but they're at the top. And then you have a lot of players that I think are good and contributors, like Ayuk, like Deebo, like, Drake Greenlaw. I think you want to see more out of Kinlaw. And, of course, they're going to have to rebuild their secondary. But at the end of the day, none of that matters, because the lesson should have been learned in the Super Bowl. That you were the better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. Everything went your way, and it still didn't matter. because you did not have a quarterback to bring you home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Either you did not trust in him, or he wasn't capable. In one way or another, you have to find a quarterback to bring you home. You have to find that guy who you can look at and say, okay, this is the guy that we're going to hitch our wagons to for the next 10 years. I have to trust him to throw deep, to make chances, and to make plays. And I think right now that they're at a crossroads. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's in any danger of being fired. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's just too good of a mind. And at the end of the day, him at his best is a top 3 head coach. Garoppolo at his best at this point is maybe, what we've seen in his career, maybe a 12th best quarterback. You know, he when he was kind of lighting it up, he was at the fringes, kind of knocking. But at the end of the day, this is Kyle Shanahan's franchise. I think Jed York will trust him, but I think they need to kind of sit down and talk to Kyle and say, you're going to have to find traits in quarterbacks and not just look for your quarterback. You're going to have to find something, you know?
Right, especially because they have the whole roster to manage.
Yeah.
And, you know, they may not have the tools to get exactly who he wants.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody's tied up with a contract long term, or maybe they don't have the draft capital to trade up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's definitely going to be something big to look forward to in San Francisco's offseason. But look, I think like we would be doing a disservice to the 49ers, this coming from a Cowboys fan of all things, is that, man, when this team is at full health, there's no doubt this is a playoff team.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And that's with or without Garoppolo.
Yes.
You know, honestly, really, it really is. Look, they
Yeah.
went to the Super Bowl. You know, did Garoppolo play well? You know, he played okay, but he really wasn't making huge plays. You know, they were able to get around that. So, really, it really is a matter of getting your quarterback, because that's just, to me, look at, like earlier I was talking about how much energy I think that Herbert has brought to the Chargers.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, those little things matter. Look at the Dallas Cowboys on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And just look at how, ever since the Dak injury happened, just how lifeless the rest of the team looks. You know, are they training any less?
No.
Are they getting paid any less? No, but there's just something about having that quarterback that you believe in that can bring you home. Let's get him there, because it's only one play away with this guy.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're looking for in San Francisco. And whether it's Garoppolo getting his getting his shot and getting his feet together, or if it's a rookie, or if it's somebody not named Kirk Cousins. As long as it's not Kirk Cousins, I'll take almost anybody not named Kirk Cousins. But, you know, it brings us to an interesting thing with Dallas is, you know, you're almost in a similar situation where, I mean, if you guys, like you said, we don't know if they can win a game against the Jets. You know, it's a close call with Dallas with the injuries and everything that's going on. If you end up with that number 2 pick, or your shot at Justin Fields, I mean, do you bring Dak back? Like, is Dak your starting quarterback? If you're picking third and you're within striking range, let's say, of getting, you know, Fields, or you're right there for Trevor Lawrence, you know, if you're getting one of those 2 quarterbacks, you know, do you bring Dak back to start, or is he gone?
I think that the Cowboys front office wouldn't be doing their due diligence if they didn't at least consider that.
Yeah.
Because it's not every day, let alone just the Dallas Cowboys, but any franchise in the NFL gets a chance at a top 2 quarterback in a draft. You know, when's the last time the Cowboys have been able to draft in the top 2?
Yeah,
Troy Aikman.
Yeah,
that's
true.
1989, dude. So you have to take it when it's there. You have to strike when the iron's hot. So yeah, they wouldn't be doing their due diligence, but I really do think that it's a little bit too early to say that they should or should not at this point. Mm-hmm. It's not because I have a lack of faith in Dak. It's just a matter of, what are these pieces going to be worth in the offseason?
Yeah.
Because we're going to see how this all irons out. Which teams are winning, which teams are losers, which teams feel like they're just one player away, and how much they're willing to sell. You know, you never know when the LA Rams want to give you their next 4 first-round draft picks.
What's your what's your price for Dak?
So saying, assuming that he's tagged and you got your other quarterback in the draft?
Yeah. Like you're locked, like, you know, you're picking second, and you know you're going to get, you like Fields, and you know you're going to get Justin Fields. Like you see him and you say, okay, yeah, this is the guy. We know he may not be better than Dak this year, but we know his projection is deeper. We know he can make plays. but someone comes a call in. What do they got to offer to get that?
I would want a first, but I understand this is big money. The money has to play into it, but you're getting the right to have him. You're getting the right to sign him. I don't see how you could walk away with anything less than a second.
Yeah,
There's no way.
Wow, see, like we talk about, to be fair, like you talked about fairness to San Francisco, I'd be fairness to Dak. I think he's elite. You have to give him a first. Like, If we're not talking first, we're not having a conversation. Especially if you're like maybe a Minnesota who may be saying goodbye to Kirk Cousins and wants to throw more money at a quarterback.
Yeah, right.
If let's say you're the Jets, and let's say for example you get a player like you don't get the first pick, so you get the second pick, and you're like, oh man, we can have Dak, and we can rebuild something. Yeah, I mean, he's worth that to certain teams.
Yeah. I just feel like in the end, I'll say this, I feel like Dak is worth a little more to the locker room than maybe a rookie would be.
Yes, that's that gap.
Yeah, Dak's the leader of this team, and because of that, I would shy away from trading Dak away. But again, like I said, if I was the GM or if I was in Jerry Jones's inner circle, like I said, I wouldn't be doing my due diligence. I wouldn't be doing my job if we didn't weigh out all the options.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's about, like, I mean, man, if you end up with that second, you're able to turn that into a bunch of firsts and seconds to rebuild your defense and your offensive line. I mean, it's going to be interesting what Dallas does, because they're at almost the road where, like, you just hired a coach, and what do you do with him? You can see both ways.
I can. I really can.
And so that's what's going to be really interesting with Dallas. Now, they got their game against Pittsburgh, and let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said, okay, your job is to find somewhere where they can have an advantage to at least slow down the Steelers, whether it be on offense or defense or some way, where can they at least slow the Steelers down? Because I think the Steelers can be slowed down.
In the first time in the history of this podcast, you have stumped me.
Oh, wow.
I don't know where they would have where do they have the advantage?
I would honestly think that maybe they have the advantage, at least at the beginning on the defense, just the way they blitz, the way they bring pressure. I mean, you look at Randy Gregory, if he and Aldon Smith can kind of create pressure, and DeMarcus Lawrence, if they can create pressure and kind of catch the Steelers napping, and I think that what'll get Pittsburgh, if you just rush 4 and you drop 8, even if you're playing man, whatever, Ben's going to find a way to pick you apart. Yeah. But if you're confusing and he's not sure, he's like Wentz in a way where he'll hold on to that ball, he'll keep it an awkward way. And I think that if you can create pressure and confuse him, you can keep that game kind of close. It's just like the problem with it is you're going to give that ball right back to them over and over and over again. And the thing with that defense is sooner or later, you're going to see it enough to where you're going to break it. So what I would say is, for Dallas's point is, you got to keep those blitzes exotic. You got to keep coming. You got to see if you can pound the rock. I mean
that I do.
Yeah, you got to believe. You got to line up. Yes, you know what the thing is, offensive linemen. Even if you don't have great offensive linemen, you know what? They're still big guys. Line them up and see if they can just move forward 3-4 yards. Give Zeke 3-4 yards. Don't try to drop back. Don't sprint option, because maybe they're just line them up. You're big dudes. They're big dudes. Let's just see if we can run 2 blocks and see what we can get.
Yeah, I am not against the strategy of Zeke. We're going to put it in your gut, and you're going to follow Zach Martin. You're just going to run behind him.
Every single time.
Yeah, that's it. If you ask what's our advantage, it's Zach Martin.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
That's all we have going on offense right now.
I think that Dallas will come out inspired. They'll come out pumped. But at the end of the day, when I look at it, I kind of just think that the Steelers obviously are a little too much. And I would just like to see the defense start to come up for the Dallas Cowboys,
It's time that they at least show some effort, man. And I think they did last game, to be fair to the Cowboys. But they got some big problems, man. Jalen Smith is lost. There's Brian Baldinger had some game film, and he shows there's a receiver for the Eagles going out to the flat or back. Somebody's going out to the flats. 2 defenders follow him to the flat. Okay, and then another receiver is going like upfield, and 2 defenders cover him. Now you have 2 receivers in the middle of the field, then nobody goes to cover those 2. So we have 4 defenders on 2 routes.
Oh, wow.
And 0 on two receivers.
That's some Rex Ryan level.
Oh, it was great.
That was some Rob Ryan
That
level.
was some Rob Ryan level. And that is this defense under Mike Nolan. They don't know what they're doing. They are confused. I have no idea. I don't know because look, I'm not in the meetings or anything, but I know something's wrong there.
Yeah.
There's no way. I don't know. To me, how it looks like Jalen Smith's supposed to cover the middle. That's just the way it looks position-wise. But who knows? But still, the bottom line is there was nobody on two crossers. There's nobody. If Wentz was even a decent quarterback, he would have made them pay big for that.
Yeah.
And honestly, that just and this is not to crap on Wentz, but I really do feel like Wentz. I'd probably rather have Daniel Jones at this point. It's the same thing to me. There's not a difference in them to me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that game a little bit. What did you think of that Eagle game?
It was nice to see the Cowboys battling in a game. Yeah. It was just another terrible team, and that's why we were able to battle. I really feel like if the Cowboys weren't starting DiNucci back there, they would have won that game. That's how bad Carson Wentz wanted to give this game away to us.
Yeah.
4 turnovers. I mean, this guy's not taking care of the ball. He's making dumb decisions, losing yards, moving the offense backwards. And it's on him because this Cowboys defense is terrible, dude.
Yeah. I was shocked to see how bad the Eagles were. They just, I don't know, something's wrong in them. They're like the Saints without the talent in a sense because you know something's wrong.
Exactly.
There's something wrong with them. And I'm like,
you said it.
You know, and I'm like, you guys shouldn't be that bad. But I don't know. Much like Garoppolo, I think Wentz above the shoulders is just, I don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah. If
at the end of the season, you know, if I'm Indy, maybe I give them a call and say, hey, you know what, we'll give you a second, you know, because I don't think he's worth the first. They may try to get it, and maybe, I don't know, maybe Indy's desperate, but, I mean, if I'm Indy, I'm like, oh, let's reunite him with Frank Reich, let's give him a year off to get his head together, and then we'll go forward, you know? I don't know if they can cap-wise, or they may have to cut, or whatever they have to do, but he would be the type of guy I think you would want to kind of hit guys like him, guys like Sam Darnold with the Jets. You want to see them in different places to kind of get their games right, you know? I mean, you know, going back to the Niners, I mean, that's a guy who I wouldn't mind if we were going to not draft. Like, if we were in a position where we were not going to be able to get a quarterback in the first round, like, it's just too much. You know, do you want to throw a second, you know?
Try Wentz?
And no, oh, hell no.
Sam
Darnold.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would take Sam Darnold.
I was about to say, well, this podcast is over. We've lost all credibility if you want Wentz.
No, nothing Wentz. Nothing Wentz. I would take Wentz if I was a team that had a quarterback and I just needed a year to get his mind right.
Yeah.
You know, Pittsburgh. But the thing with Wentz is he signed that big contract, so it's hard. It's hard.
Can't sit him.
You can't sit him. So he's in a weird spot. The Eagles are in a weird spot, but they'll probably win that division. I do expect you guys to beat them, though, when you play them again.
Yeah, I do, too.
Yeah.
And as long as DiNucci's not the quarterback or, I don't know.
Exactly.
Cooper Rush will beat him.
Yes, I do believe that. And then just kind of, you know, following up with the Green Bay game for the Niners, I mean, this was your big thing, dude. Yeah.
This was like, hey, this is the team that we're going to beat.
Yeah, I felt extremely.
Water.
Yes, I think that if we took both these teams and put them at full strength, I think the Niners beat them 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
I really do. But, I mean, when you're missing, you know, Debo, and I know we can put any running back there. There's something about Mostert with this game that would have put the fear of God in the Packers because of what he did to them in that NFC Championship. Yeah. So, yes, could anybody else have mimicked that kind of production? Yes, but there's something about Mostert doing it to Green Bay where you're like, oh, shit.
Well, you know the Green Bay defensive coordinator could not afford to let that happen twice in a row.
Yes.
There's no way. He has to game plan for that.
Yes. So I look at it like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think that they'll come up good. Well, the best thing I can do is maybe Nick Mullins plays well and we can turn him into some trade because I know what people are going to say. Well, if Nick Mullins plays well, why isn't he going to be the starter next year? I'm like, no, you know he's not the starter for the 49ers because they would have kept him as the starter. He's trade bait. If you can turn him into a 4th round pick, or God, if you get a 3rd round, I'd do it in a second. Depending on what he shows in these next 4 to 6 games. At the end of the day, you know, I think I'm in the boat with you. We're starting to look at mock drafts and seeing where we're going. And it sucks that, you know, I was hoping this would be the year we kind of, hey, you know, we're going to play each other. This is going to be a great year. But 2020 was just not having any of that.
How far the mighty have fallen.
Yep.
Going into this season, you predicted the 49ers, 12 wins?
Yes.
What are we looking at midway? No.
I'm gonna cut that in half.
Yeah.
6 wins.
I'm with you. I think I can see the 49ers winning 6 wins. At the beginning of the season, I picked the Cowboys to win 10 games.
Yes.
And then I said, after the week 1, and I realized our 2 tackles were out and injured, and I said, okay, as long as we get them back within, and I was even willing to give it 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, we'll still win 8 games in this division.
Yeah.
Then they never came back,
No.
so then that dropped me to that, and then losing Dak just dropped me another few games. So I don't think the Cowboys are going to win more than 4 games. I think it's a 4-win team.
Yeah.
I really do.
Damn. Maybe it's better hope for 2021.